All right. All right. Time for the second interview of the Whorldwide interviews. This time I'm joined by my friend Matt. What up, brother?
Pleasure.
How's it going?
Going well.
Good,
Going
sweet.
really well.
So a little backstory about how me and Matt met. So as you may know from before, I've been working in a retail store in Christchurch City. So Matt and his family came in and we started chatting, and we both realized that we seem to have the same sort of
interest.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like the same sort of background when it comes to traveling and wanting to see the world, pretty much. So in this interview, we're gonna talk with Matt and see a little bit more what he's been up to and what made him go traveling and what his, I don't know, biggest urge is when it comes to traveling and, you know, seeing things in the world like that. So without further ado, let's jump straight into it. So Matt, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself? Like, what's your background? Where do you come from? How long have you been traveling?
Yeah. So I'm from the UK, and so I've been living in the UK for some time. Just went through a lot of education and trying to figure out where to go from my experiences. I'm basically hard of hearing, so that has some sort of ways of trying to get me to learn new experiences in my life just to get me pampered and ready.
Yeah.
So, I've been living in a small town called Chippenham in the UK, which is a couple of hours outside of London. And when I got to the age of 18, I just thought I wanted to start to travel. But before we get to all the travelling, my background is a hairdresser and a barber. And I've also learned to do other things apart from hairdressing and barbering.
Yeah.
So that's sort of given me something to meet people in a much quicker way, meeting people in a working industry, and being able to build up something that was giving me a purpose, which is why I went to start traveling.
Yeah. And do you feel that traveling has somehow filled that purpose with some other feeling, or have you came to any sort of realization when it comes to traveling regarding your life and how you sort of want to live your life?
Traveling is a big purpose.
Yeah.
And everybody has different purposes based on their life. Finding what they want to find for themselves, exploring from the inner heart, from within. So when I got to 18, I left traveling with my family.
Yeah.
At that point, I didn't see I had a purpose.
Yeah.
Then a few months on, my parents went home. I went to start off exploring.
Yeah.
Did my first ever solo traveling as a hearing impairment.
Yeah.
I first went to Fiji for the first time at 22 years old, and from that point on, I found my purpose.
That's a good answer. And for those people that are curious, what's your age now?
Sorry?
What's your age now?
My age now is 27.
Yeah.
27 years old now.
Are you turning 27 or are you turning 28 this year?
I'm turning 28 in April this year.
Yeah.
Which I'm excited about,
Yeah.
but I suppose age doesn't matter.
Nah, of course.
So whether you're young or you feel like you're slightly old, but at the end of the day, you are always young, and you have so much more of life to experience.
Yeah. And I think it's also when it comes to, the ways of living life. For example, I'm older than you. I just turned 30. And I think when you're traveling, you see all various amount of people that's traveling. Some people are 19. They're out on their first adventure, and someone is 40 and traveling around, you're seeing the world. So would you say that you have met a lot of different sort of travelers throughout your time abroad?
Yes, I have.
Yeah.
I've met many people.
Yeah. Which one was the coolest?
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, I've met tons of people.
Yeah.
I've met people who are young, who are middle-aged,
Yeah.
who are old, who are older.
Yeah.
And so, whether different age groups,
Yeah.
different lifetimes in their own bubble. And,
Yeah.
nobody is ahead, nobody is behind.
Yeah.
It's not a race.
Yeah.
It's the traveling of where time and people meet
Yeah.
endlessly in the present moment.
Yeah.
And during my travels, I've met so many people that I would have not imagined of having some sort of connection. And also with confronting them with my disability.
Yeah. So, when you say disability, what is it that you're referring to?
So my disability is a hearing impairment. I have both hearing aids and I wear them for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
I was born deaf.
Yeah.
I was born very early. I was born premature.
Like how much before, like the actual birth date?
I
Like
was born,
the estimated
so
birth date?
yeah, I was born at 28 weeks.
Oh, yeah.
Which is very, very early
Yeah.
for an average baby. My mother had she sort of, had the time to be like, this is happening out of ordinary. She was just like, okay, this is happening.
Yeah.
And it's happened so early. And therefore I was meant to be born on July the 14th of 1997, but I was born April 1997.
Yeah.
So, at that point in April 1997, being born really early had caused a lot of problematic situations through the family and through me. I was very ill, and of course the doctors were saying I had 20% chance to live.
But you're here.
I'm here.
And I think that's the most important thing,
Yeah.
And so thank you for sharing. I know that's personal stuff, but I think it's also really good that you open up about that, because you and I had a chat about this before when we had a coffee, that, a lot of the people around us are carrying something that we don't know about, or that we know about, but that we think is either normalized or not normalized. And for me, I have ADHD and OCD, so for me, I feel that some people can have a hard time to understand what it's actually like to live my life, and especially when it comes to traveling with my diagnosis, So do you feel that traveling with your circumstances is something that, or like, what do you call it, your disease, what do you say, like, your thing has been some sort of challenging thing to do?
Yeah.
In which ways, if so?
Yeah, I mean, my circumstances of challenges are not easy.
Yeah.
I've been through many things that I wouldn't necessarily think I would go through even when I asked for help. I have a very supportive family, but sometimes when I'm out there in the world on my own, alone, solo traveling, I get this huge sort of weight on my shoulders thinking, can I go any further? Is there a purpose for me to feel like this? And I think those challenges I've been through based on, say, you get to the airport and you're nervous as hell, and you think, I need help, and I feel like people aren't aware of my help because they don't know how to act with my disability.
Yeah.
So those are those challenges.
Yeah.
But I just have to believe in myself, thinking that they are help for me
Yeah, of
along
course.
the way.
Yeah. And I think it's also like, the more we sort of open up about what we actually have to work with, like when it comes to your stuff and my stuff, it's also way easier for people around us to actually know how to help us in our own unique way, Okay, but so now we talked a little bit about your background, why you started traveling, how long you've been traveling, a little bit about your disability. So if we talk about so you've been overseas for quite a long time now, and
Yeah,
you
I've
have your
been-
family in New Zealand right now?
Yeah, so, I left home 6 years ago.
Yeah. Do you want to go back? Do you miss England?
I miss some parts of England. I don't miss the whole part of...
Do you mean the
Yeah.
British breakfast thing? Or
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
yeah. What do you miss?
You get the idea. If you're from the UK, you know what I mean.
Yeah, all right, okay.
And that, not just the UK, but that could be everyone in general living at home,
Yeah.
trying to escape that 9-to-5 job,
Yeah.
or just feeling like you're in absolute boredom,
Yeah.
and there's no mindset of openness to be able to step out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
So, being away for 6 years has been a long, long time. And New Zealand 6 years ago was my very first ever long haul travel. I started this traveling chapter was because my mother had some relatives in New Zealand, and I was only around probably 20, 21 at the time. It was Christmas Day. We had some wine on the plane on the way, so I don't see why not.
Yeah, of course.
So New Zealand was the first start of the travels. I was on a tourist visa. I travelled around the whole country here for 6 months. And since our family had flown apart, we decided to stay behind. My brother was also included with me on this travel. Then we decided to sort of explore ourselves. I went to Fiji, and that was my first ever solo traveling. And part of my mind, it didn't end well.
Okay. Do you want to explain further what you mean, or do you want to leave that to another time?
So it's something I won't ever forget at the age of 21. And, I put myself at risk out there for something that was on my bucket list. And Fiji was on my bucket list.
Yeah.
It was my birthday 2 weeks later, and I just felt like I would have a 22nd birthday in Fiji and just be on the islands. And I didn't know what to expect. I was just in the most intense feeling of not knowing what's happening, not knowing if I'm going to be out there feeling really alone, or if someone's not going to come to me and say, are you deaf? Do you need help? If you need to let me know, if you need to find something you can hear or understand what's happening. I didn't get any of that. And I remember getting on this boat, and I was just like having the worst feeling of anxiety, nervousness. And I just got to an island, and I just felt like I went crazy. I felt like...
What do you mean?
Yeah, I had this... I just felt psycho inside my head, because I was so overwhelmed. I was panicking.
Were you stressed?
Yeah. I was... Everything, every emotion you feel, I had just to... And I fight it, I fought it every day, and I was sleeping, I remember, I was sleeping in the dorm, and I was sleeping through broad daylight, and everybody was coming through me and saying, hey, are you alright? I was completely shut down. I didn't know how to step up or tell them I have hearing aids. And I didn't have that tool. So I remember being out there, I just wasn't myself. And over time, people start to see me in a way where I was able to develop my own self. And some few days later, it really opened me up and think, this is what I should be doing. This is only the beginning for me.
Of the bigger thing.
That's it.
Yeah.
So, beginning of something on an island in the middle of an ocean, that's the big thing. It's the first time of traveling, but for me personally, as a hearing impaired.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Pretty crazy.
Sounds pretty crazy. I've had some crazy experiences myself as well when I've been traveling. When I was, I've had a lot of crazy memories. Being chased down by crazy people in Gili Trawangan in Bali.
Bali?
Yeah.
You were in Bali for a while?
Yeah, I went to Bali, not for a long time, like a month. So I went to Bali 2016 in, I think it was January, February. So I was living in Sydney at the moment, and two guys from back home were traveling through the country, and we met up in Sydney, and they were like, yeah, we're going to Bali, do you want to join? And I had been away. That was my first big journey by myself. So I was feeling a little bit homesick, so I was like, I'm just going to go. I'm going to meet you guys in Bali. So I went to Bali. And then I went around, different places like Canggu, Ubud, Kuta, all these places, and we went to Gili Tea. And there was we went to a club at Gili Tea, and for those people that don't know, Gili Tea doesn't have any police or anything. So I'm at this bar and I'm dancing, having fun, and I'm going out to get some air, and I start talking with this English guy, and he tells me that these locals are hitting on his girl. And I was like, okay, what do you want to do? It's like, I want to fight them. And I was like, are you sure you really want to do that? You're on an island in the middle of nowhere and you don't know anyone here. These guys are locals, they know each other and they will back each other up. And somehow that escalated, so he ended up getting beaten up by some locals down the street. And I told myself, don't do anything, we'll just let it be. But I couldn't just stand there and watch and see them beat him. So I just walked up and I took one guy that was sitting on him, punching. And I just took him off, just dragged him up and just shoved him to the side. And this other guy comes and tried to fight me. And after that, I was terrified my entire time in Gili Tea, because I was like, they're gonna come after me, they're gonna beat me down, they're gonna beat me up, whatever you say. And I was terrified. And I was like, okay, well, trying not to overanalyze it and trying to be like, okay, if it happens, it happens. There's no reason for me to walk around and be scared if it hasn't actually happened. So yeah, this was a little sidetrack thing.
But isn't it strange how this situation came up when it just come out of nowhere. It's your first trip to Bali, and out of nowhere it's the first sort of situation that doesn't need to be necessarily happening.
It's just the people that's been to Bali know what Bali is about, it's a little bit crazy. But I'm thinking about maybe move on to the next question.
Yeah.
So when it comes to traveling and, exploring the world and stuff like this, if there was people with similar disabilities or, their own personal challenges back home in the UK or somewhere else in the world that wanted to go travel, what's your personal advice to them? If they really want to go, but they're a little bit scared to actually take the step, what would you say? What would you say to yourself back in the days when you weren't really in this position? To inspire, to encourage.
I never really found out from my own self and how I've self-taught my own thoughts in many advices of self-talk. I am a very down-to-earth person where I have a positive of self-talk, and self-talk opens up your mind much more, and sometimes, depending on other people you meet, that can also give you advice.
Yeah.
So it's just depending on what advice you're looking for, and being able to take a deep breath and tell yourself through your mind, say, right, if I want to travel and I am different than everyone else with a disability, just, you put your step out there, you take a breathe, and you think, the world is so big, there are people around you, you're going to find people who are going to look up to you and just help and be there. And if you don't ask for help, then you're going to struggle. You're not going to get anything if you don't ask for help. So, my advice is that when I did go travelling for the first time, and I went solo travelling and I went to other places, I just had to be the first one to step up before anyone takes their turn and just ask for help. Tell them that you're struggling with something. Tell them what you have. Tell them just the small things to start off something, because the small things that you start off with become the light. And when it becomes the light, you become to shine on something that will give attention from other people. And that's helping, that's guidance, that's something to be more aware. And everybody has different disabilities, different awareness, different thoughts and feelings and emotions. And, it's normal to feel like this because your body is going through changes. And going through changes is stepping out of a comfort zone that you never thought of existed at all. You never thought you would have imagined it. And the real purpose of travelling is to leap out there and find what you're looking for. And it doesn't matter who you are, what you have, or anything. It's just about taking the leap of faith.
Believe that it will turn out in a good way.
That's it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I like that. It's a good mindset. And it's also like, I think a lot of people are scared. And I think like a lot of people, they are scared with, somehow actually realizing who they truly are when they're by themselves or when they're traveling around. Because, back home, a lot of the people are affected by the norms. They think that they're supposed to live life in a certain way. And if you break that norm, or if you do something that's truly you, that can make you uncomfortable. Okay, my family or my friends thinks that I should live my life like this, blah, blah, blah. And my inner true self says, that's not who you are. That's not how you want to live your life.
That's not your character.
Exactly. And that's also like, it takes a lot of courage to actually live life how you truly want to do that. And I think like, for me at least, that's something that I think is really inspiring when you meet people that are going full send, like 100% being who they are. Right. And, somehow managing the art to not give a fuck.
Yeah.
Like, okay, well, you don't like me, you don't like how I dress, you don't like how I am, you don't like my disabilities, you don't like my diagnosis. Well, that's on you, my friend. I am this way and I'm living my life and it's making me happy.
That's it.
And sorry if that's not making you happy, but that doesn't really matter because I'm trying to make myself happy in the long run.
Yeah. And if somebody can accept that, then what more can you have? If you can relate to somebody and accept them for who they are, and not judge the book by its cover,
exactly,
then you'll know that an acceptance between the two human beings or more, that people want to say, hey, it's okay, I'm going to stay by your side,
Yeah.
or I'm going to help you push,
Yeah.
and then go. You know, it doesn't have to be a constant of,
Yeah.
needing.
Yeah. So, okay, now we talked about quite a few things. So what's next, like on your journey? What's the next thing that you plan to do, or like the next country that you plan to see? Do you have any goals for this year that you want to tick off, like a bucket list or something like that?
I've had some thoughts
Yeah.
recently
Yeah.
in the last year. Well, before coming towards the end of last year.
Yeah.
And my kind of thoughts and goals would be to, do something a bit like this.
What do you mean? Can
spreading
you
awareness.
describe? Like, what do you mean? Like this? Like talking about life and
Talking
trips,
about,
or documenting, or
just having a little bit of a podcast, some more sharing to create awareness to people all over the world. Inspiration, help people with disabilities, help people that are in need of something they want to fulfill but they can't, or they feel like they have this differ in between their mindset and their heart. And so for me, I think that is a very beautiful thing, because you are willing to help people, and it's basically like a therapy kind of thing. It's like a therapy of, kicking someone in the butt and just say, you got this, you can go. Like, it's gonna be okay, and inspire. And, it's not about, you as a person constantly. It's more about what you've been through so that you can give your story to somebody else.
Okay. And do you want to combine that? Like, the question was probably a little bit more, what do you call it, towards like the traveling, if you have like any goals within the travels as well? Like, do you have anything specific that you want to do or see?
Yeah, I kind of thought maybe I would love to do some traveling as well, to keep that prolonged going.
In New Zealand
Until I
or
get to-
overall, or?
I don't know where exactly. I mean, I try to stay away from the UK,
Yeah, I get that.
but
Have you been to Sweden?
no, I haven't.
Do you want to go to Sweden?
I'd love to go to more explore of Europe as well, definitely. But I think, that's something that I could intend to do in my future lifetime.
You only have one lifetime. You can't say the future lifetime.
Yeah, no, that is true. That's fact.
Yeah.
That's a fact. It's once in a lifetime of something to, find more of your ways by exploring what you want to do to fulfill your purpose of life and goals. And I think, I may have many thoughts of many goals and things I want to do to, to bring myself up in the world and shine my light upon the others and other beings. So either a podcast, sharing my story, maybe writing a book, maybe, I enjoy cooking. I like to cook for people. I like to bring that social environment and to share and listen to other people's struggles. And I've been, living in Australia for some time, and I've had some friends who, have some struggles or they're feeling down. And I was just able to sit there with them.
Like
and
this.
just really, really listen. And I didn't have to say anything. I just listened and listened and listened, and that's the most important thing that you can give to somebody to make them feel themselves again. And, it may sound crazy, or you're probably thinking, why am I saying all of this? And I probably think, well, I might have self-talk. A lot of these things about myself, I've listened to podcasts, I've read books with gurus. I'm very inspired with philosophy, and sort of therapy based on the mind and body and the spirit and the soul. So discovering that by myself and exploring the world gave me such a great oomph of confidence, and I think my goal in this sort of sector would be something that I could put into to spread it and be aware, whether you have a disability, whether you don't, whether you feel like you can't push yourself, and that's something that perhaps I can give.
Okay, yeah. So, do you reckon, like, for me this year, I have the goal to see 8 new countries. That's my goal for 2025. So I had that goal to myself when I was, by the age of 30, I should have visited 30 countries. And I've been to 22 right now, so I have 8 more to go. I'm not really sure how that's gonna work or how I'm gonna solve that, but that's my ambition for this year. Okay, so like the final things, because I see that we are starting to run out of time. Like the final things. So, what's the best memory you have from traveling for this time? Like, is there anything specific, like any specific person, any specific spot that you feel extra connected to? You cannot say family, like your own family, because that doesn't really count.
No.
That's safety.
No. Yeah. No.
That you would like to relive, like, you know, explore one more time, redo, you know, like explore it one more time.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's hundreds of places, but
narrow it down to one.
Yeah,
Quite a big
definitely
challenge.
bring it down to a one.
Yeah,
Sure.
quite a big challenge.
One magical experience I probably had. I think the most amazing experience I've had was at the world's biggest national park in Australia. It's called Kakadu National Park, which is in the Northern Territory. It has about 7 continents of Aboriginal states that they live off-grid, and it's their land and so on. And I think that gave me a lot of energy and a vast spiritual level. And the national park was so big, I ended up walking in bare feet.
Whoa!
Yeah, it's crazy.
Wild boy.
Wow, you know, there were waterfalls and creeks and such things. And I'm just a very, like I said earlier, a very down-to-earth kind of guy.
You feel the earth somehow.
That I like to feel my body grounded on the planet, and for me to explore the most wonderful, amazingly national park that I've ever had to experience. I was with my brother at the time and some other friends, so we had our own vans each, and we were in the national park for a couple of days, and we took some psychedelics, and we thought, let's make it more fun as well from the sober side, but both sides were just completely magical. So we had some psychedelics, and it was just wild, the colours of the trees, the waterfalls. We laid under the stars in our vans. We cut some massive piece of steak on the fire, listening to music. We brought our dressing gowns with us because we think we were going to be cold. And I think that would be a memory I won't ever forget, because I think that was a very special one in such a special place. But you know, I think the most experiences and beautiful life I've had would be, from what I'm saying in Kakadu Park, would be Australia, because I've spent 6 years there. I've lived in Australia for 6 years. I met so amazing many people that I'm proud to call them my friends, my best friends, my brothers and sisters all over the world. and especially having my brother as well in the family, and we were able to travel together, and he was able to do his own thing, I do my thing, and we travel alone, and then we go, right, let's meet somewhere else, and we get together again, and then there's this whole group of friendship. So Australia, I love it.
Yeah,
for sure.
I love Australia too. It's probably one of the best places on earth, to be honest.
So we
All right, well, I think we got sort of ended here, but I want to say a big thank you for sharing your story with us. Thank you for catching up with me today.
No
Hopefully
worries.
we'll see more of you in the future as well.
Absolutely.
All right, see you later,
Thank
guys.
you.